During a visit yesterday, I was asked, would you say that you are in service? And I made the answer, when we realize that every breath we take is changing life, and breath is integral to life. In fact, it is life, because without breath we're dead. Would we dare to say, I am, or my breath is in service? So there are several little stories when we put them together. Let's see what they bring up for us. First, there's an old Sufi story about the time when the Sultan sent a message to the great Sufi saint El-Ghazali, requesting him to attend this kingdom, his kingdom, because he was expecting a certain ambassador to come. But El-Ghazali sent back a message with the messenger to stay. The breath in this place, here, is conducive to my health. The breath there is not. And since I cannot bottle the air here, I cannot fulfill your request. Now the Sultan was very, very angry when he received this response from El-Ghazali. But some time later, El-Ghazali presented himself at the Sultan's court just at a very moment when an assassin had entered through the window and was about to kill him. And El-Ghazali was able to intervene and save the Sultan's life. After all the furor had died down, the Sultan said to El-Ghazali, I know that I must be very grateful to you for saving my life, but I'm still angry with you that you did not attend my request to be present. And El-Ghazali responded, the duty of one who knows is to be present at the right time, in the right place, not awaiting ambassadors who are not going to arrive, because the visit of the ambassador had been cancelled, in fact. The second story, of which there are many, many versions, is this short tale about a time when a certain king knew that he was about to die, and he had to choose his successor. Now everyone in the court wondered whether it would be one of his children, whether it would be one of his advisors, one of the pundits. But to save there being any dissension about it, the king said that he had written a letter in which he named his successor. So the time came when the king departed his body, and after all of the necessary rituals and the time of mourning, everyone was gathered, and the chief advisor stood up to read out who it was that the king had chosen. To everyone's great shock and surprise, it was not one of his children. It was not one of his advisors. It was not one of the scholars or pundits. It was the court jester. Now even the court jester himself was greatly surprised, but he was duly crowned. His jester's hat was taken off, his colored rainbow garments were removed, and he was donned in the cloak of a king and crowned with a crown. After some time, everyone began to realize what a perfect choice it was, because this jester, now a king, was humble. He listened. He gave wisdom to those who came impartially, without judgment, and he became loved and revered. But everyone noticed that from time to time their king disappeared for a few hours. They noticed that he went to a far room in the palace and locked himself in. Nobody knew what was in that room. Nobody knew what he was doing. But one day, an ambassador came from a far distant land. He knew the king's background and was skeptical. But after meeting the king, he recognized his qualities: deep compassion, humility, oneness with his people. And he instantly revered and loved him. But he too noticed that he went off from time to time, and his curiosity was too great. So he followed the king one day when he went into this room, and he knelt down and looked through the keyhole. When he did, he observed the king taking off his crown, taking off his royal robes, and placing on himself the rainbow garment of the joker, the hat with its many points of the jester. And he danced around the room. He cavorted and somersaulted. And then he stood before a mirror and said, "You are not a king. You are just a jester in service. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget who you are." When the king, putting on his crown and his garments, came out of the room, the ambassador was not to be seen, but his love and reverence for him had grown. And then one day, when they were alone, the ambassador confessed. He said, "I could not help myself. I had to see what it was that you were doing. But since then, I have a question. Would you tell me, why was it that the king knew to choose you, the court jester, as his successor?" And the king replied, "What is it? What is it that the king replied to the ambassador, why was it that you were chosen, the court joker, the jester, to be the king's successor? What is it about us now? What did that king say to the ambassador?
You could think of all like these really intelligent things that he would have said, but I think it might have just been something as simple as one, like the court jester would never forget who his real self. He would never then change into something just to please anybody else. He would remain his true.
So, yes.
You could have said, in no, I am nobody.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was tricky and he said, why do you think you chose me?
That's a Nasruddin trick.
Maybe he said, not get into ego trip.
All right.
King on top of everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Keep his real authenticity.
Yes. And if we go back, because in real terms, even though we've been humbled in our life and we know what humility is, I would have ventured to say that we don't claim to be humble. But if we come back to recognize that breathing is natural for us, breathing is our life, that we can't claim what that breath does, because it's fundamental to existence. Wouldn't you say so? Isn't? Which
the way that breath doesn't belong to us.
And even the breath is gone. Is this the ultimate service? Yes. But can we claim it? No. Everybody's the same. Thank you, thank you.